Minnesota Vikings general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah was in between a rock and a hard place in this year's NFL draft. Only had 5 draft picks, no second-round pick, no 7th-rounder, as an homage to Rick Spielman. But Kwesi did pretty good, even though a lot of Vikings fans did not think so. But overall, I was a fan of the draft. Yes, they sent the second-round pick to Detroit. Wait, this ain't the Super Bowl, man. This is Detroit. I screwed that up. Doesn't matter. But Hawkinson is part of the draft package. But Addison, the first, going to revolutionize his passing game. Mekhi Blackman, super feisty, getting after it on the outside. I think he's underrated. Jay Ward is going to be a tackling machine. Eventually, he's going to work his way into the starting lineup. Jaquelin Roy is on the upswing. Tons of potential along the defensive line with him. Jaren Hall, I'm not ready to say he's going to be the next guy, but in the 5th round, a guy who's mature like Jalen Hall, great arm like Jalen Hall, I like his chances a lot, as well as DeWayne McBride. I mean, DeWayne McBride might be the Vikings starting running back within 2 years, and that's legit. That's absolutely legit. And even though, yes, a lot of Vikings fans had problems with it, overall, I'm really happy with how they ended up, especially being so short on draft capital. And over at The Athletic, a bunch of NFL executives also believe so. So Mike Sando of The Athletic put this together, thoughts on every single draft class. And it's anonymous NFL executives, right? So I mean, take everything with a grain of salt. Also, it'd be funny if the Vikings executives were the ones asked about the Vikings class. Oh, yeah, it was really good. But he compiled a bunch of quotes about the class, and this is what they said. So, first one. The best thing Flores has going is that they have a relatively strong offense, an exec said. Their defense could get a bump just from scheme change. And we said this before, too, where maybe during the season, you weren't going to have a lot of changes along the defense side of the ball last year. It just sort of was what it was. And even if Pettin came in, maybe things weren't going to turn around. But this defense has a lot of talent on it, man. Also, you add a Marcus Davenport. Also, you bring in Byron Murphy Jr., essentially replacing Patrick Peterson. You bring in a guy like Dean Lowry, who will give you some stability along the defensive line. And then you sprinkle in a couple of these rookies from rookies from this year's class, as well as second-year players from last year's class, where Lewisine is going to be healthy. Caleb Evans, Andrew Booth Jr. are going to be healthy. Brian Osawa finally going to get the time of day and be healthy. Asazio Tomo is going to get the time of day along the defensive line. And you got a really nice nucleus. Like, even if you do jettison Zadarius Smith, I think that this Vikings defense is going to be sneaky good. And especially with Brian Flores at the helm, that it's going to be very aggressive. So I think that this defense certainly has a puncher's chance this year. And then they continued. Quote, I give them credit for getting good players while being limited in their resources, another exec said. They made a couple of savvy trade backs and got a 5th next year from Kansas City. They were able to create value. We like Addison. We like Blackman. We like Jaren Hall. And the Vikings draft, they're able to move down a couple times, day 2, day 3. They added an extra 5th-round pick from Kansas City as they're stockpiling a little bit of future draft capital, as well as, like I said, getting Blackman at 102. I mean, yeah, they were higher on him than a lot of the draft analysts were, but also, the Vikings and all these other teams are privy to a lot more intensive information about scouting these players, especially a lot of the medical stuff, especially a lot of the off-field stuff as well. And I love Jaquelin Roy. I love Jay Ward. Jaren Hall, I think, has a chance to be a sneaky great day 3 selection, and DeWayne McBride. I'm fired up about DeWayne McBride, man. Just continue to watch his highlights, and maybe it's him wearing the double deuce. Maybe it's him not having blazing speed, but having good size and insane agility and ability to stay on his feet. There's a little Emmitt Smith there. There's just a little bit, man. There is. Lastly, you lose Thielen, and then you had a really good route runner in Addison, a good get for them, another exec said. You probably wish they could have gotten more on the defense side of the ball, but they had to get the receiver where they got him while getting depth at corner. Let them get one who will fit Flores' system. Also, they wanted to say that they were we like Addison, we like Blackman, we like Hall. There we go. They said that they did like Mekhi Blackman. Blackman was a little bit controversial because, a lot of people's, like, all the draft analysts had, 6th-round grades on him or whatever, and on the board were a lot more recognizable names at cornerback, but Blackman's the guy. And Blackman's the guy that Flores signed off on. Blackman is the guy that the scouting staff and Kwesi were fired up about. So I'm gonna trust him. I'm gonna trust all of them until they bust, and then I'm just gonna blame them. But overall, like I said, I think that defensively they are going to have a puncher's chance, and I think Blackman does have a shot to come in week 1 and start, because Evans and Boot Jr. have a lot of potential. Same thing with Barnes. Same thing with Joejuan Williams, former second-round pick, but nothing's set in stone. Like, only Byron Murphy Jr. is the guy that is going to be starting week 1. Everything else is really up in the air. So I like Blackman's chances. Hell, I like Jay Ward's chances too. Since Flores likes to use multiple safeties, Cam Beasley, I mean, is he destined for this role? Who knows? Seen as a wild card still. So I think that the Vikings are going to have a couple of significant young contributors if you combine this class as well as next year on defense. And Addison's going to be friggin' Addison, man, right? So he's going to take away some of those double teams on Jefferson, and the tide's going to raise all boats. Addison's going to get his, TJ's going to get his, KJ's going to get his, Justin Jefferson's going to get his too. So it's going to open things up, man. So again, I understand why fans were a little bit upset, because maybe some of the Vikings picks were unorthodox, or you didn't like it, or you wanted them to draft someone else. But hey, love the one you're with. Love the one you're with. And NFL executives around the league, the anonymous ones, they seem to agree too. But your thoughts are our thoughts. The Athletic compiled some thoughts from anonymous executives around the league on the Vikings draft class overall. Pretty good. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts on their thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.